highly recommend Ms. Hicks. Her books, her CDs are encouraging.
I bought her book, The Hill to Climb. She's a very inspirational speaker.
And I look forward to one day being able to work with her. Your power lies within you. Let it loose.
Hello, 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 everyone. We are live. This is your host of Aim to Purpose Spiritual Empowerment Hour, Louise Hicks. And I am here today because I have not a lot to say, but it's important. And it's very important to me that I discuss this. And today, my topic is mental health. And I know I've talked about mental health a lot, but today I'm excited, I'm mad, which is motivated and determined. I'm angry, which I have a right to be. But the topic today that we're going to talk about is mental health. David is finally hospitalized. Politics and the corruption that hinders sensible mental health policies. And we must make a difference. We, the public, must make a difference. And I know there are lots and lots and lots and lots of Americans out here that have issues with the mental health system because it is significantly broken. And when I say significantly broken, I mean significantly broken. The system has been broken for multiple years. And it's about time that we as the public do something about it. We must band together as a grassroots organization, and we must demand policy changes. I am working on a task force that I am spearheading, and I will be working with those that are willing to work with me to get this done, because we must do something about it. And if we don't, the corrupt politicians will not do anything because they are bought. Many of them, I don't know about all of them, but many of them are bought by Big Pharma, these corporations, and the mental health is an organization that is all about the money. And the hands of those who are working diligently and dedicated are tied at this time. But we have to untie our hands, people. We have to. And guess who is impacting the most? The Black community. That's who this corrupt mental health system that is significantly flawed is the most challenging for and the most challenging to. Because what they'd like to do is keep us drugged, walking around like zombies, so that Big Pharma can continue to make trillions, because they don't care about us. We must start to care about ourselves. We must get into therapy as well with an eligible mental health facilitator or therapist, because all mental health therapists are not equal. And I can tell you there are some good ones and there are some bad ones. So you must get in touch with one that is eligible to give you therapy and not be ready to push some of these pharmaceutical drugs off on you that are more harmful than helpful. And as you know, when you see a television commercial, the first thing you see is, oh, this drug causes suicidal tendencies. This drug causes that. This drug causes that and this and that and the other. You see the name of the drug and then you hear all the side effects. Is that something that you want to put in your body that will make you worse off than what you were before you started? So it's something to think about. You must think about it. And I'm looking to see, because I want to check the chat out as well to see if anyone is in my chat with comments, whatever. Check the chat as well. Let me get rid of that, because I don't want that interfering with me talking, but I was checking the chat out to see. And usually what I do, I turn my phone off when I'm on, because I don't want to be interrupted with calls or anything. And sometimes people have a tendency to call me when I am on. So I usually just turn my phone off so that I can just continue to navigate through what I'm talking about and so forth. So I said that it gives me joy that David is hospitalized. And it gives me sadness because of how he was hospitalized and how long it has taken, because I've been fighting this battle for 25 plus years to help my son to live. I've had to get him off certain medications. I've been insulted by some of the psychiatrists. Some of them need therapy, actually. Maybe they're getting it. I hope so, because of my outspokenness about the mental health industry and how the psychiatrists, many of them, are just pill pushers, legal pill pushers. That's exactly what many of them are. They don't know the definition, some of them, of talk therapy, which is vital sometimes to help us to navigate through whatever is troubling us. Sometimes we don't need medication. And it's nothing wrong with going to therapy. And that's a stigma that many of us have in our Black community. And we need to come away from that. Of all people in the universe, we need healing. We really do, because many of us, not just us per se, but our ancestors, and it has been generational, where we suffer from these atrocities that have been passed down. And I've heard some of these young people out here, and let me help you to understand. I'm 71. I've been around for a while. Sometimes I'm like Dr. I call him doctor because he's a self-proclaimed PhD. And that's Minister Fred Shaw, who's been on my show multiple times. And he says he has a PhD, and I can understand that because I have a PhD. And some of you young people out here talking about things that you really don't understand, you don't know, you haven't been through it, but you can just speak because you're saying what some of the white supremacists want you to say. And you're out here speaking it, and you just don't realize how you are corrupting. And you are corrupt because you don't understand what you're talking about. You don't know what you're talking about. I heard someone say one time something about that we as Black people should not be talking about reparations or something to that effect, because we didn't go through the atrocities and so forth that our ancestors went through. We don't have to go through those atrocities. We didn't have to go through, and thank God we didn't go through the severity of what they went through, because it was horrendous. It was atrocious. And when I say I'm mad, that's motivated and determined to help elevate our community, because we need it more than any other ethnic group on the planet, and particularly in America, because no one has gone through the atrocities that Black people have gone through in this country. No one, no ethnic group. And many have piggybacked off of our sufferings and the things that we've gone through, and have gotten more done for them in terms of policies than we have gotten. And it's time for that to change. And that's not knocking what anybody else has done. I'm happy that you're looking out for your people, because you should. And that's what we have to do. We need to unify and look out for one another. And when I started this show in January, I advised everyone that you're welcome to come in here, no matter what ethnicity group you are in. However, this show was started as a premiere in January 2022, Aim to Purpose Spiritual Hour, Aim to Purpose Spiritual Empowerment Hour, with me, your host, Louise Hicks, to elevate our Black community. And I am unapologetic about that. And we need it more than any other ethnic group because of the atrocities that we and our ancestors have gone through. And when I heard some young person say something about we didn't go through slavery, well, I beg to differ with you, whoever made that statement. Our ancestors went through the chained slavery. We are going through the unchained slavery. And I can attest to that because I know from firsthand knowledge what it's like to be on the slave plantation that is working for these white corporations that want to treat us like second-class citizens. That can create a mental illness. It can create an emotional disturbance. Because when you're going to work every day for someone that doesn't want you there in the first place, and you have managers and supervisors that want to treat you like you're not even human, like was defined in the Constitution, us as 3/5 of a person, and some of us are still treated like that on the jobs. And we must learn how to articulate ourselves on these jobs, how to document on these jobs what's going on. Because when you do that, you're not going to have to worry about getting fired from the job. Because even though we have an injustice system in America, sometimes it does work. I'm here as a living witness to tell you that sometimes it does work. But you have to learn how to dot your I's and cross your T's. And we know that it's emotionally draining when you have to go to these jobs. And that's why many of us need that talk therapy, for someone to help us just to talk about how we feel every day going to a job, knowing how you're going to be treated. That's enough to cause you to become emotionally disturbed. And it's challenging. Of course, it's challenging. That's why it's so important for us to read. And I always speak of Dr. Claude Anderson, whom I've met. And I have his books. I read the first one back in the 1990s, Black Labor, White Wealth. And that's a true historical fact. And also I have the other one, Powernomics, that I'm reading. And I should have finished reading it a long time ago because I've been had it. And I met Dr. Anderson back in, I think it was 2016, 15 or 16 in California. And I was really a little bit shocked by the number of Black people that had come out for that event. We of all people need to come out and listen to some of the wiser generations that you guys think don't really know anything, but I'm here to tell you, we can teach a lot of you Gen Xers, Gen Yers, as well as the younger ones that's coming up, whatever generation they are. Because a lot of you are out here talking about things that you don't have a clue what you're talking about. And you can learn from some of us more mature people like myself, who's 71. And I learned to listen years ago from some of the ones who were from the generations prior to my generation, which we are the baby boomers. You can learn a lot from us if you would only take some time and stop being so brainwashed. Because many of you are brainwashed, you're bamboozled, you're blindsided, as Malcolm X would say. And I always tell you about two of my favorite people, Marcus Garvey and Fannie Lou Hamer. Marcus Garvey was a pioneer in helping to elevate our people. And guess what? Some of us were the ones who helped destroy him, attempted to destroy him. And Fannie Lou Hamer, who fought just to vote and have some rights, some human rights that we were born with. And then the white supremacists want to take it away because they want to treat us like second-class citizens. And I'm just not the one. I'm not the one. I speak up. I speak out because that's so important. And I have a little cup here that says, speak up. Speak up. Speak up. And I think I have it here. Let me see. I'll share it with you. Some of these cups, and I said, I gotta have this. Look at this. Speak up. We have to learn to speak up and speak out. What are you fearful of? What are you fearful of? You have a brain up here. Nobody can take that brain away from you. We know they try, but if you have to go through a brick wall, break the damn brick wall down and go through it. I'm telling you, I've had to do this. I've had to do it in the county of Los Angeles when I worked for them. I've had to do it here in Texas. Working on these jobs can be hell on wheels at times when you are Black and living in America. I'm telling you what I know firsthand. So when some of you Gen Xers and Gen Yers are out here, millennials, and you're talking, sometimes when I hear you say some of the stuff that comes out of your mouth, I say to myself, you really need therapy from an exceptional therapist rather. And again, I'm Louise Hicks. I'm your host of Aim to Purpose Spiritual Empowerment Hour. And I do have a YouTube channel. Please go to my YouTube channel, Aimed, AIMED, the number 2, Purpose, PURPOSE, Radio. That's Aimed to Purpose Radio. That's my YouTube channel. Subscribe, give a thumbs up, comment, because there is content on there for everybody, no matter what ethnic group you are. You can still get some understanding to help bring some harmony to this world, particularly here in America, because we're so divided. And we need more love in this world. I talk about that too. We need more love in this world because we're living in a sick society. And a pill is not always the answer. I tell you that. If you go to a doctor and the first thing before they even hear what you have to say, they're ready to write you a prescription, you need to run like hell because they're not going to serve your benefit. Many of them have these pharmaceutical people come around to their offices and they give them these drugs to pass on to you. And as I said, if you watch the commercials on television, you will see they name the drug and then they give you all of the side effects, one being suicidal. Who wants to take a drug that has you suicidal? You want to live. You want to live your best life. And if you're going to live your best life, you need to be in the best mindset. And I did a little speech yesterday where I talked about just some, as my granddaughter, 8-year-old Nija Ejul would say, some random things. And that's what I did yesterday. And I did it in the raw. I didn't have any makeup on or anything, wasn't dressed up. I just had some things on my mind. And I just decided I need to go on Facebook Live and just talk to people across the world. Sometimes that's all we need. And we can uplift one another, elevate our community, elevate one another, help another ethnic group to better understand why many Black people are angry or mad, motivated and determined to help elevate us. Because you've been lied to. You've been lied to about us many years. I remember my uncle who was in the military fighting for this country, and he comes back. He's deceased now. Couldn't even get a decent job. Couldn't even find a decent place to live because of discrimination. And he was telling us about some of the overseas experiences he had. Well, some of these people were told that Black people had tails and we were monkeys. I'm telling you, there have been some stories. I've heard some stories from my ancestors, and I can tell you some stories, and I have told you some stories from my own personal experiences with racism and discrimination. So take the fear out of you. Take that fear out of you. Speak up, read, know your history, know your origin. That's so important. And another book I tell you to read, because I read it on the first premiere episode. I read the book about the Willie Lynch letter, the making of a slave. And you will get some historical background on the why so many of us are lost. Because we have not come to an understanding of who we are. And we need to do that. That's a must. It's so important that you know who you are. You know where you came from. We came from kings and queens. And my little granddaughter and I have a podcast, and we did it Friday night. And she wanted to talk about random things. Her name is Niger Ejewel. However, I call her Sweet Sweet, because when she was born, she was such a sweet, adorable little baby. And I just knew that this little girl had greatness in her. I knew it. I saw it from the beginning. And I think that's why I just said, oh, this is my little Sweet Sweet, because I saw the greatness in her. And she's proving that with our podcast called Fun, F-U-N, the letter N, and Learning, Fun in Learning, with Grandma Louise and Niger Ejewel. And she has a YouTube channel. And I was the host. However, in August, when I was in California, she told me that she was the host and the queen. But since then, she's changed and said her mom is the queen and her dad is the king, and she is the princess. So she's evolving. And that's what we all have to do. We have to evolve to rid ourselves of some of these stigmas of going to get talk therapy and figuring out why we have the behaviors that we have, why we are not unified as a people, as an ethnic group. It's so important. And I've shared with you that I have a bachelor's degree in social work from California State University, Long Beach. I do coaching. I am a motivational speaker. I have spoken at many organizations. I've spoken at NAMI. I've spoken at church groups. I've spoken at Black Business Women Rock with the founder, Natalie Randall, who is now moving on to bigger and better pastures. I missed her last event because I was here in Texas. But we're doing some amazing things, people. And we want you to get on board to help elevate us and stop waiting for those crumbs. And I agree with reparations. We deserve to get reparations. They're giving it to other people. And some of that stuff that happened to them didn't even happen on American soil. And all of the atrocities and the stuff we're still going through, we're going through it because why would we need a Civil Rights Act of 1964? Why would they still be, we're out here seeing all of these other atrocities, the George Floyd atrocities, Breonna Taylor, so many others. My own son, David Reed II, whom inspired my award-winning book, because I am an award-winning author of the book, A Hill to Climb, a teenager's battle with cancer, depression, and drug addiction. That was inspired by my 14-year-old son, David, who was diagnosed with a rare bone cancer in 1995. And I've been fighting this battle ever since then. And I am so happy to say today, he was hospitalized yesterday, just yesterday. And those of you who have followed me, you know how long I've been working to get my son hospitalized. Finally, yesterday, he was hospitalized. under circumstances that I'm not going to disclose on my channel at this time, but it wasn't a pleasant circumstance, and I will be speaking to an attorney about it to get some legal advice, and then I'll give you more information about that. But he is hospitalized. I spoke to his doctor. His doctor, I'd called yesterday and asked them to tell the doctor to give me a call. I had a doctor that called me this morning who was very respectful, and I can't say that about many of them that I've spoken with, who were very disrespectful. But this doctor was very respectful. He wanted to know David's history, and who can better give him a history than his mother? So I gave him David's history of how I've been fighting this broken mental health system that's these lackadaisical politicians do nothing about, because many of them are corrupt themselves. They're bought by the pharmaceutical industry and all of these other companies, these drug companies, many of them who make these drugs, manufacture them and put them on the market. And sometimes you hear so-and-so drug has been recalled because they found out it wasn't conducive to the patients that it was prescribed to. So I gave this Dr. Davis background, and I don't know whether you're familiar with the California laws. However, there was a law that was enacted in 1967 that needs to be re-examined. At the time, it was a good law put in place, I believe, to help the challenges that many mentally challenged persons were facing in California. And just to give you a little bit about that law, it was called the Latterman-Patrick-Short Act of 1967. And it was needed. It was by these assemblymen. They were state assemblymen, and this is in the state of California again. This law was enacted, and this is how I was able to get my son, David, conserved twice. And twice he was improperly released from conservatorship, which caused the state that he's in right now. And we don't know what's going on. He's lost a lot of weight. We don't know whether the cancer has come back. We don't know whether the infection has come back. So that's why I came on this morning a little bit later. Sometimes when I'm later coming on here, because usually I try to get on about 1 o'clock every Sunday, it's because I had a lot going on. I had to speak to the doctor, share with him information about David's background and how it's been something, like I said, and it inspired my award-winning book. And I could write a book too now about all of the things that have gone on since 1995 when he was first diagnosed. But I'm thankful to say that based on this law, which I said it has its good parts, but it needs to be re-examined because we do need some policy changes. They have what they call a 5150 hold, where they can hold you for 72 hours. And then they have another one that's called a 5151 or 5152, an extension of the 5150 hold. And this is for 14 days. It could be longer, I'm not sure, but I know the 5150 is 72 hours and the 5151, 5152 is 14 days. My son needs to be held for a minimum of 14 days. It could be longer because they need to find out what is going on, why he's lost all this weight and all the challenges he's faced since the mental health court without due process released him. And I'm checking into that legally as well, because this system has to change. And the only way we can change it is we band together. So if anyone out here is listening to me and you are in the field or not in the field, you have loved ones that may have some of these challenges, please feel free to contact me so that we can get together and get this task force moving on behalf of not just David, but all of us. All of us, because we know this impacts our community more than anybody else. So let's band together. You can contact me via my email, aimed, AIMED, the number 2, aimed to purpose louisehicks@gmail.com. Also, I have a website, louisehicks.com. You can go on my website and you can see all of the amazing things that I'm doing on my website. And I also do coaching. I do motivational speaking. As I said, I have a bachelor's degree, so I am qualified based on my expertise and my experience. I've worked in the county for over 32 years in the health services department, where I encountered many challenges myself, being a Black, intelligent woman working in the county of Los Angeles and working here as well in the state of Texas. So anybody out there that thinks just because we didn't live in the days of our ancestors who went through many more atrocities than we did, and you think that just because we didn't live then, we don't understand or we don't deserve reparations, think again, because you're off your rockers and you're out of your mind. And I only hear this coming from mostly Gen Xers and Gen Yers, and I hear it coming from some of the baby boomers like myself. And some of us are off our rockers too, because some of us got drugged out and we have some mental deficiencies because we use drugs and we got entrapped into the drug scene back in the 70s and 80s and 90s. Thank God I didn't, because I never used illegal drugs. I had better sense than that because I was raised differently. And I have to say, I was raised in the South in a Black community, went to an all-Black school where they loved us and cared about us. And when I came to California, I was amazed at what I knew versus my peers who were educated in California. It was amazing. Some of them thought we lived in slavery, I think, because of their discussions and conversations I had with some of them. And that's not to put them down, because obviously they didn't know any better because of the way they were raised and the environment that they were in versus the environment that I was in, an all-Black environment, all-Black school, community, village that loved us, because it does take a village. It takes a village. And anybody could chastise you back then. And you go home and you get another chastisement because they didn't play. And thank God they didn't, because they created some brilliant Black minds. And I always tell you that my name is Louise, which in German means famous warrior. And I'm doing my best to live up to that name that my mother gave me, because I hate injustice. And I do everything I can to fight the injustice system here in America. And I will fight until the day I die, until the day I no longer have a breath to fight with. That's how I feel. So please, you can go to my YouTube channel again. I am Louise Hicks, your host of Aim to Purpose Spiritual Empowerment Hour. And I have been demoted to co-host of Fun in Learning, our YouTube channel, with my granddaughter, Nija E. Jewel, who has taken over as host at 8 years old. And I must say, she's doing a darn good job at it. She's using her critical thinking skills. And my YouTube channel is aimed, AIMED, the number 2, Purpose Radio. That's aimed, the number 2, Purpose Radio. AIMED, number 2, PURPOSE, Radio. Aim to Purpose Radio is my YouTube channel. Please go and subscribe. Give me a thumbs up. Comments. I have lots of content out there. Some of it a carryover from when my son, Kenan Wesley Mason of Kinetic Fit and Wellness, and I were doing our Aim to Purpose radio show in Hollywood, California. We would go into the studios and we had guests from all over the world, from all ethnicities. We don't discriminate. That's what's wrong with the world today. Discrimination, where some of people think they're superior to others, and they're not. Don't let them fool you. They're not. They are not. They're just another human being, just like you are. And I want to share with you too, how some of you look up to some of these rappers and these entertainment people. They're just human beings just like you are. So why are you putting them on a pedestal? And some of them are misleading you as well. They're leading you down the pea patch as well. So start listening to some people that are talking some sensible things about elevating our community, unifying, connecting the dots, bringing us together, like Dr. Claude Anderson. This man has a wealth of knowledge. He's written multiple books. Dirty Little Secrets is another one. I have all of his books. In fact, I have multiple copies of his books because I have some at my home in California and I have some here at my home in Texas. So when you get a chance, go to his website, Dr. Claude Anderson, and look him up. Google him, get his books, start reading. And there are other books that I love to read. Napoleon Hill is one of them. And this is a white author. One of his books that I read, Outwitting the Devil, that book was not released, from what I understand, years and years, for years after he was deceased because of fear for his life. And you can read it. I read it. I have that in my library. I have a vision of so many things that I have ahead of me. And don't let age stop you, please. I'm 71. I'm not on any medication. I don't let anything stop me from my assignment from God. I believe in God. I have an assignment. And I tell you about my elements of vision, hope, faith, knowledge, and action that are so important, because without a vision, you need to write it down. If you don't have a vision, how are you going to gain some knowledge? And we perish for that lack of knowledge. And I always like to keep this on my desk in my office. It says, as iron sharpens iron, so one man sharpens another. And that's Proverbs 27:17. That is so significant because we have to sharpen each other's tools. We learn from each other. And I learn all the time from young ones, middle ones, the ones like myself, the ones older than myself, like my mother who lived to be 92, passed away in 2015. The woman had a lot of wisdom. She wasn't highly formally educated, but she was intelligent. My father, highly intelligent. Intelligent people, not formally educated, but the educational system sucks anyhow in America. It sucks by design to keep you as a second-class citizen, basically, as a Black person and a second-class citizen. And I'm saying it because I've lived it in the job market. But I speak up. I do this. Speak up. Let people know, hey, I didn't come to your job to be treated like a second-class citizen. You have to learn to demand respect. You have to learn to document. You have to learn to articulate yourself. That's what you got to do. And then you don't have to worry about these people firing you on your job. I've never been fired from a job. And as Robert Kiyosaki says, a job just over broke anyhow. So why not become an entrepreneur? Why do you want a job? Somebody has to work, of course, but why does it have to be you? If you got the mindset to be an entrepreneur, why not? Become an entrepreneur. Become like I did. I worked, of course, 32 years, but those 32 years paid off because those were stepping stones for me to become a motivational speaker, for me to become an award-winning, best-selling author of my book, A Hill to Climb, A Teenager's Battle with Cancer, Depression, and Drug Addiction. For me to become a coach to help other people live their best lives. For me to become a media personality and do what I'm doing today. Because God gives us gifts and talents. And it's up to us to develop them and use them. So let's do that. And I always tell you, your power lies within you. Let it loose. I let mine loose every day because I know where my power lies. It lies within me. And I know where that brain is, that intellect. And some of you, I use these little symbols sometimes. I keep little sayings. This is one that I love. I thought I wanted a career, but turns out I just wanted a paycheck. So, are many of you feeling that your purpose is just to get a paycheck and work for somebody else the rest of your life and then die? I wasn't the one, and you don't have to be the one. Don't just work to get a paycheck. Work to define what your purpose is in life. And then use those gifts and talents, not just for you, but to help to sharpen someone else's tools and help them to find out what their purpose is and how they can live their best life. That is so important, that we not only work to elevate ourselves, but work to elevate others. Because sometimes we need that push. We need someone to help us to understand who we are, to understand what those gifts and talents are. So if you need that type of resource and help, I'm here. I'm available to help you to find out what those gifts and talents are. Pull it out of you. Pull it out of you. And nothing can stop you, because you can't regulate someone's heart. If they are hateful and mean spirit, let it be. Don't worry about them. Don't focus on them. Put your focus on you and who you are and the person that you were born to be. Do what you got to do to bring out the best in you, because believe me, it's there. It's there. Those beautiful gifts and talents from a beautiful melanated people like yourself. You got that GPS, and I always tell you that God-powered system. It's there. You got your GPS, your God-powered system. Use it. And I'm going to get off because I've spoken, I think, long enough. And as I said, my talk today was mental health. David is finally hospitalized. Politics and the corruption that hinders sensible mental health policies, because we have so many bought and sold politicians. And that's a fact. They're bought, they're sold, they're corrupt. You see it every day. They don't care about the mentally challenged because there's too much money in it. So think about what I said. Be sure and contact me. I'm here. Go to my YouTube channel, and it's aimed, AIMED, the number 2, Purpose Radio. Aimed to Purpose Radio. That's my YouTube channel. Go there, please subscribe, give me a thumbs up, leave some comments. Also, my granddaughter, who's 8 years old, that's taken over the host of Fun, F-U-N, the letter N, Learning, L-E-A-R-N-I-N-G, Fun in Learning with Grandma Louise and Nigel E. Jewel. That's our other YouTube channel. Please subscribe, give us a thumbs up. You will see a brilliant little 8-year-old doing her thing as host of Fun and Learning. So go there and let me know what you think. And I will see you soon. I will be back next Sunday, God's willing. I may be in California, I'm not sure, because I will be going there to navigate, facilitate, getting my son back under conservatorship so that he can be able to live his best life, because he's had so many challenges, so many since he was diagnosed with this rare bone cancer at the age of 14. And thank God he's finally hospitalized. I was not going to stop until I get him hospitalized. And I'm happy to say that, but I'm angry that it took it so long to happen, because I don't know whether the cancer is back, whether the infection is back. And with that said, I ask for your prayers for us. And I thank you all for watching and joining us today. And I'm hoping that I can get this task force together. I do have some support from Minister Fred Shaw, who is a director over in the Citizens Commission on Human Rights. So again, Louise Hicks, your host of Aim to Purpose Spiritual Empowerment Hour, and my YouTube channel, Aimed to Purpose Radio, and the Fun in Learning with Grandma Louise and Nigel E. Jewell. So go to those channels. You may find something that will uplift you today. And with that said, I love you all. Thank you for joining. And I will see you soon. I'm going to go walking today. I walked yesterday. I may chime in a little bit with you when I go walking. And if I do, you'll see me then. Otherwise, have a great day. Enjoy the rest of your fabulous week. Make it fabulous. Focus. And always remember, your power lies within you. Let it loose, because your destiny is your command. Bye-bye.